Hello, everyone, and welcome to our Thursday webinar series for Movius. My name is Sean Winter. I'm Vice President of Global Client Success, and I am joined today by our CTO, Amit Modi, from out in Northern California. Hello, Amit. How are you today?
Hi, Sean. Hi, everyone.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, depending on where you're dialing in from. As you may know, if you joined us the past few weeks, every Thursday we are doing a webinar on a different topic, basically geared towards communication strategies in these very challenging times with COVID-19. Like I said earlier, my name is Sean Winter. I'm in Richmond, Virginia. And a few sort of housekeeping details before we kick this off today. Number one, this is being recorded. So if you need to miss any of it or you want to share it afterwards, we will send it to you and you can view it at any time in the future. For Q&A, we ask that you use the Q&A or chat window within Zoom. I'll be monitoring that, as will Tara and Jean, our marketing team. And again, ask questions at any time. This is a conversation, not so much a presentation. So feel free to be rude and to interrupt, and we will go with the flow and try to answer those questions as we go throughout the webinar. We'll try to make this around 30 minutes. If it goes over, great. If it doesn't last that long, great. Like I said, this is certainly a conversational story. And today we brought in the big guns because we're going to talk about security and compliance, something that I certainly struggled with understanding fully when I joined the firm. So hopefully I'll learn a few things today. But I would like to introduce Amit Modi, our Chief Technology Officer. And Amit, if you could give us a few minutes about your history with Movius, your background, and where you are today and how you're doing today, of course, given all the craziness that's going on in the world.
Yeah, thanks, Sean. And once again, hi, everyone. Great to be connected with all of you virtually. I started with the company, been here since the inception. We are just very pleased to be in the situation where Movius has evolved and how we are able to serve our global customers, and especially in such unprecedented times that all of us are experiencing. So just really humbled by that, being able to help all of you. In terms of me, I've been with the company, as I said, since the start and have played a number of roles. But really, the most important role is about helping our customers and building products and solutions that can really deliver value to them. And that's what we are here about, and that's what we get up every day to do for our customers. So, Sean, that's about me.
Wonderful. Thank you, Amit. So on that note, for those who have joined the webinar who may not be totally familiar with our multi-line product or what Movius as a company does, could you give us the kind of the 30,000-foot view as to what type of company we are and what products we offer?
Yeah, absolutely. So Movius is delivering secure mobile business communications to our customers and partners around the world. Our goal is to enable the best possible business to client engagement, and we enable it in the context of communication services in particular. What we have done with multi-line service, it's a very simple, all software-based, application-oriented service, which essentially gives you a separate business number that you can have on any personal or corporate provided device. That's your underlying device. And you can have that application, you can have that phone number, and really that business phone number becomes that corporate controlled asset that then becomes the identity for you to engage with your customers with voice, with text. The other piece is that rather than giving you just another application or a phone number, we pride ourselves in delivering the highest quality of service, highest quality of security and privacy, so that no matter what device it goes on, you maintain that work and personal separation. We then go a step further. We know how important it is, especially for certain set of users, for things to be recorded, be compliant, and we offer that as part of our very powerful, extensible, scalable platform that is all software-based, all in the cloud. And then final piece is that on the application itself, it integrates very seamlessly on the device with any of the enterprise mobility management or mobile application management solutions that you may have. So really, in summary, it's that one single business number that becomes your corporate controlled asset. The end user uses it with our multi-line application, and the enterprise backend services all integrate with our platform. And so we can offer you a very easy deployment, easy to manage, easy to administer, and easy to deploy.
Wonderful. Thank you for that overview. I actually have a question about the voice over IP piece, because we hear a lot of solutions today, especially given that many employees are working from home, are touting their ability to provide a voice over IP phone number. Now, I know the UK today, I know this from a few of our colleagues, is experiencing some internet bandwidth challenges, as I'm sure lots of places are in the world these days. And so can you tell me a little bit different how multi-line is different than a traditional voice over IP solution?
Yeah, absolutely. Great point, Sean. It's all about the quality of service and being able to deliver 100% enterprise grade, carrier grade voice, irrespective of the underlying access type that is on the device. As we all know, on our mobile devices, we can use Wi-Fi, we can use cellular data, or when we have challenges with either one of those, we should be able to fall back to the underlying native radio network on the device, which is tied to the SIM. Most of the VoIP applications are able to do the first two, but they are not able to fall back on the underlying network. And that's where Movius has a lot of patents and the technology to ensure that you deliver the highest quality of voice, which is able to access Wi-Fi, cell data, and GSM. And we have a number of patents around that. And that's what our customers have found to be truly unique. And my last comment is we have seen an unprecedented increase in voice, and customers are demanding that highest quality of voice, which is why Movius is unique.
That's great to hear, and that's why Andy, who's a CSM in London, was actually able to join my team call earlier today when his internet network was completely down. He was able to join on his multi-line using his carrier in a secure and encrypted way. So that's great to hear.
Yeah.
So let's talk about what's going on in the world today. Obviously, the current pandemic has led to some fairly substantial changes in terms of how corporations need to get work done. Right, the vast majority of knowledge workers are now working from home. What challenges are you seeing from a technology perspective first, and then also I want to get into more of the regulatory and compliance perspective. But what challenges do you see with certain segments of the workforce working from home? And is it different for different industries and verticals depending on what type of work you do?
Yeah, so Sean, two pieces here. I think the fundamental needs are common. There has been an absolute urgency to mobilize the workforce to be able to give them the requisite tools on their preferred mobile device and being able to not drop any communication link with the end customer. So that piece is common, and all customers are wanting to do it in the fastest possible way, but without compromising on the security and compliance. Now, where things differ industry by industry is their internal processes around compliance, around security, around approvals, the integration with the various workflows of EMM and archival and other provisioning systems. So it's very important for us to be able to not just give an app and say, okay, you have it, you can now make it work. That will not meet the needs of the enterprise. For enterprises to be able to really deploy the solution, give it in the hands of their end users and satisfy them, they have to make sure that the entire workflow needs are met, which includes a very flawless end user experience and the backend system integrations. And only then we can say that the solution is scalable and deployable. And what we have been able to do at Movius is not in weeks, not in months, but in days, we have been able to mobilize thousands of users meeting all of those workflow requirements. So that's how I see it, Sean, and that's been the biggest challenge. Mobility was always thought about, but mobile communications, client-facing engagement on a mobile device, as basic as the requirement is, it has received a heightened sense of urgency with our various customers.
Well, that makes sense. And it's good to hear, and certainly it's been my experience on the client success side. It's fascinating to watch, especially in the past few weeks, just the ability for very large, very complicated firms to stand up the solution in really a matter of days, if not even shorter. And I come from a background of working for large regulated financial services institutions, primarily in IT. And I remember the days of, an IT project being, hopefully being 12 months, but really being 2 to 3 years. And it's amazing to see that companies are able to mobilize and turn this on so quickly.
Yeah, absolutely. Sean, if I can just add, there was one other piece
Please.
I wanted to add, and this is not just one geography specific, because these are decisions that are being made, which are many times firm-wide in these unprecedented environments. So you have to have a global approval for those workflows, and then being able to meet the regional jurisdiction requirements, right? And with Movius, we are able to support our partners and our customers to be able to do both and to be able to do it fast. And that's very special.
Got it. Makes sense. So we were talking earlier around the voice over IP piece and how that's different from the carrier and minutes piece. Let's say, given obviously network challenges that we're all dealing with today, we have kids at home, who are crushing YouTube and Netflix while we're trying to do Zoom calls and get work done. Let's say during the course of a call, my connection maybe falls off and I'm on Wi-Fi and it needs to go to minutes or vice versa. How does that work? Is that something that the product can deliver on?
Yeah, I'll describe it in two pieces, Sean. From an outbound calling standpoint, so I am, let's say, that business employee who wants to engage with my customer. On the outbound side, Movius supports two things. One, between mobile cellular data and Wi-Fi, we offer absolutely seamless transition. So you can go back and forth between those two access types without dropping the call. In case of, let's say, if either one of them are not working, let's say you went into your garage or some bunker where there is no data coverage at all, but you have some radio signal, you are able to initiate a new call using our minutes mode. By the way, we can do that without compromising anything on the experience. What your clients will see is still your business phone number. When they call back, you will receive the call on your work number. So none of the compliance and security is compromised. So that's on the outbound side. On the inbound side, Movius does offer a default callback. So we have different settings where you can receive call on data only, which could be cell or Wi-Fi, or if you prefer, because you are in a perpetually not so good spot, you can leave it as minutes only, or you can have a data falling back to minutes. And these flexibilities are essential because as people have been just really asked to work remote, everybody has a different environment, everybody has a different situation, everybody has a different coverage, and it's critical to be able to offer that flexibility to the administrators to control and serve their end users within the firm in the best possible way. So that's unique.
Great answer. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense and certainly seems like a must-have piece of technology, a must-have feature.
Yeah.
Going back to kind of mobile strategies and how companies are really challenged right now to be very nimble in their strategies. If we think over the last 10 years or so in this industry, the pendulum has swung from companies going big on BYOD programs to swinging back to corporate mandated and paid for and managed devices and back again. And lots of companies are somewhere on the digital maturity chart there. Given now that, companies are needing to figure this out really quickly, how does multi-line support some of the common scenarios? And I'll put some up on the slide here that we're seeing companies go through, where typically they would have, multiple years to sort of figure out their strategy and how they want to do the costing and other pieces. And you're not only managing service plans, but you're managing devices. That's very challenging as well. Devices that people often want traded out every 2 years. How does Movius provide, an alternative way to think about mobile strategy?
Yeah. So Sean, at Movius, our basic design principle has always been that you cannot tie a service closely to the underlying device, right? No matter what the type of the device is, the nature of the device is. So that's a firm policy decision, whether they want to go BYO, whether they want to still have some corporate liable devices, whether they want to retain some of their existing desk infrastructure and mobilize it. I think the firms are going to continue to have a little bit of that mishmash, so to speak. And what we want to ensure is that the Movius service works irrespective of that policy or that environment decision. So to summarize, if you have BYO devices, Movius works great. If you have corporate liable devices, Movius can be onboarded, and we have customers in that category. And especially in these recent times, we have seen that people have actually kept their desk numbers and they've been able to mobilize them using Movius as well. So we support all of those three sort of device policy environments that companies have today. And they cannot make these decisions overnight. They cannot change them. They cannot ship people devices or have them on board on any of the device. You need a solution that supports all of the above.
And it's all software based, so I can just download it and go.
Exactly. Yeah.
Wonderful. So let's switch to kind of the crux of the conversation here, the main topic, and let's talk about security and compliance for a second, or for many seconds if we can. When dealing with truly regulated industries, right, and we're seeing obviously huge interest from financial services, from healthcare, even government right now are kind of three that have been massively disrupted given the pandemic and need to sort of fully understand when they're home and they can't get to their desk phone or they can't get to their EHR portal or whatever it is, how they can safely and securely communicate. Can you walk us through how Movius looks at security and compliance? And I know we have a slide with a lot of acronyms on it, but maybe take it a step deeper into truly what our philosophy is behind it and why this is important, why a lot of, let's say, financial advisors may not fully understand that just because their desk phone is forwarding to their personal phone, if then they call on their personal phone now, they're potentially in trouble.
Yeah, I think you hit the nail on the head, Sean. We have to always go outside in, right? What is the environment of our customers? So as you rightly said, there are regulated users who are ultra monitored, right? So they would have regulated voice, they would have regulated text, and no matter which channel or device that voice or text is coming from or being sent, it has to be monitored, it has to be recorded, right? So that's one category of users. There are some, for them voice is okay, but text has to be 100% monitored because it has things like compliance requirements, DLP filtering, right? Making sure that the language being used is accurate, no unnecessary stuff is being shared. So that's the second category. And then there is third, which are communicating and engaging with clients, and you need to ensure that there is complete control over the PII information, which is personally identifying information. Client identifying data is absolutely secure. So firms, when they approve solutions and any technology, they think in that context, and they want to make sure that your solution, both at an end user device level, at a transit layer, and then also at a cloud platform layer, that is meeting all of their security and encryption standards. So that's the foundation of our design. How do you go about solving that problem? Let's break it into pieces. So first is your platform itself from a technology standpoint, and your controls and your processes, they need to meet certain standards. So at Movius, we are fully ISO certified, 9001, 27001. We have SOC 2 Type 2 compliance, not only for Movius platform, but also for our cloud provider. We are HIPAA compliant, so we have done that. And then we are able to meet all of the other standards. GDPR has been on the forefront last many years, and all of the other financial services standards. So we take those standards, adhering to them, making sure that we are maintaining them on an annual basis extremely seriously. So that's one piece that secures your platform, that secures your control processes and your access mechanisms. The second piece is the application and the solution itself. So anything that we do on the mobile application today that is completely secure, that is encrypted, and it's not just about Movius saying we have to pass some very stringent certifications, penetration tests, and unless we go through those, we are not even able to post the app on the App Store. So we take care of that piece as well. And then final piece is the whole transit layer. When data traverses, you have to meet the security standards. So we have taken a very deep and very wide approach, Sean. And the best way I could put it is we are battle hardened by some of the toughest in the industry who put us through the ringer. And we have no shame in saying that, right? We went through some very hard yards to go through and pass every bit of their requirements. And now where we stand, we feel extremely confident to be able to meet any of the requirements that any of these customers can put in front of us, because we have gone through that journey, and that journey is not an easy one, right? But we have come out of it, and we have come out of it strong on all of those pieces.
And you look very rested as well, which is impressive considering the breadth and depth of our client base right now.
Yes.
I do have a question from the crowd that I think is somewhat tied into this, which is when we think about the consumer, and we touched on this a little bit earlier, but I want to get specific on security and to a lesser extent compliance, but specifically security. When we think about consumer voice over IP products that are out there that I may use at home, and now that I'm working from home, right, it's very easy to open up the computer and go with those sorts of things. How is a multi-line more secure than a consumer-based voice over IP product?
Yeah, absolutely, Sean. I think on multiple parameters, I would say just the very fact, the simplest one being that we have to serve the most regulated verticals. Movius has to do a series of penetration tests, manual and automated. Our enterprise customers do a number of penetration tests, and these are like white hat security testers, right? So they are the best of the breed, and they will leave no stone unturned to ensure that your app meets all of the requirements. I would be very surprised if any of the consumer apps go through that kind of a rigor, right? Now, there are some OTT messaging type applications who have end-to-end encryption, but they are only peer-to-peer, right? You need to have the same application on both sides, and they are able to encrypt the information, right? In the world we are in and the customers we are serving, we do not have that restriction, which is a big USP of Movius, right? So only the employee needs to have the Movius app. Their clients can be on any device that they prefer, and the communication needs to be secure. So that's the other piece, that we are able to meet the security even in that environment. That's the second piece, Sean. And then the third piece is our integrations that we have done with some of the very prominent names in the industry around security, like BlackBerry Dynamics, right? I mean, they are almost like a gold standard in that sense. We have done integrations with IBM Mass 360, with Mobile Iron, with Microsoft Intune. So that provides the enterprises an additional layer of control, not only on the device, but also on the application and how they enforce the policies. And that really puts them at rest. And that significantly differentiates us from the consumer VoIP apps. Yeah.
No, that absolutely makes sense. Let's take this a step further. So I understand the top level security and compliance, but I know a very specific regulation, for lack of a better term, is the ability to not only record content, right, voice, text, etc., but store it. And I get confused about the two, but I'm not as smart as you. That's why we have you on the call. So I'm hoping you can walk us through, especially given the effects of what we're going through now. Everybody's home and they still need to make the same types of calls they used to make, but they can't necessarily get to their desk phone or whatever other secure technology they used out of their office, a Bloomberg terminal type of thing. How do we look at recording and archival? What's the difference between the two? What are the options? And what are some best practice, maybe some client stories and how they've deployed these sorts of things?
Absolutely, Sean.
And let's start with the recording piece, and then we'll kind of merge into the storage piece, because I think they are two different topics.
Yes, absolutely. So I think our sub-bullet here says it all. Once a user has been earmarked as a regulated user who needs either voice recording or text or both, you need to ensure that you are capturing 100% of all their interactions, right? There cannot be a wiggle room on that. There's no leeway on that. So that's a very foundational principle. And then at the same time, while you are doing that, for administrators, it cannot be onerous. So everything that gets recorded and stored on the Movius platform that needs to meet all of those encryption standards for data at rest, they need to meet all of the access standards in terms of who, when, how, if anything, can that information be accessed, and how it will be transferred, which will come a little later in this section here. So we meet all of that, and that's built in by default. So customers can be at rest that all of the information will be recorded, will be logged on the platform, and if needed, platform and offloaded there, right? And you have some of the standards here, right? We use absolute security at a volume level, so it's all encrypted. We have all the metadata, data all encrypted. The audio is there. Encryption standard is AES 256. And then there are specific customers, and specifically for voice, they want to not even have any voice recorded on the platform. So we do offer an option for live voice call recording in those scenarios, which I'll cover in a little bit later. But a lot of our customers have fallen into two camps. They want Movius to store the information for a short period and then securely transfer it to them. Or in some cases, specifically for voice, they would want to make sure that the call is recorded live on their recorders and does not even stay on the Movius platform at all. Those are the two broad buckets, Sean, that I see how our customers have actually deployed at scale and across multiple geographies. And as you can imagine, to do that, there's a lot of back-end complexity, but we simplify it because the consumption needs to be simple. All the complexity is abstracted. That's work that we do behind the scenes, working with our customers.
Got it. And that live recording you're talking about that some of our large firms need for either specific geographies or types of roles, is that the SIPREC piece? Is that correct?
That is correct, Sean. So that is using SIPREC, which is the standard. And very simply what happens is, Sean, let's say I'm the banker, you are my client, you and I are having a conversation. And as this conversation is happening, a live call is being forked to our enterprise archival recorder. And that stream is going in parallel there. And then when the call ends, nothing is on the Movius platform. And oh, by the way, if there's a breakage on the recorder and Movius side, then the call is dropped as well. And that's how stringent the implementation needs to be, so that no call can go unrecorded. And we are able to support it using SIPREC.
And I assume, given the massive fluctuations we're seeing in the market, this has never been more important, right? Because people are making some pretty big decisions in terms of buying or selling, and that live recording is hugely important. Now, can a large company have certain segments of their implementation that does live recording and other that doesn't? Or does it have to be all or nothing for a client?
No, Movius supports both the solutions, Sean. And in fact, we had to mobilize both of those solutions in matter of days, actually. So we had one large global multinational bank which said that, okay, hey, in this jurisdiction, we would continue with the SIPREC-based live call recording. But on the other two jurisdictions, look, all of our backend infrastructure is not ready. Movius, can you still give us that secure file transfer based push without compromising anything, but that gets us going, because we have a need to onboard and get these users going now. And we were able to mobilize in just a couple of days, and we were able to onboard thousands of users and give them that that voice call recording option. So no, it can be both.
Let's say for a second though that, so I understand the recording feature, but let's say I make calls or I send messages out of another tool, not a phone or not email. Let's say it's a CRM like a Salesforce. Is that something where I could use the multi-line product within that to ensure that the recording and archival pieces are met and that I'm compliant?
Absolutely, Sean. So that's the other significant value that Movius delivers. So not only can you be compliant on your mobile device, but let's say if you have sales persona who are spending a lot of time in their CRM application, we do offer that multi-line connector, which is actually available on the App Exchange of Salesforce. You can download it. It has the same business phone number that is on the Movius app on the mobile. So you can retain that. All of the conversations get synchronized. But because the platform is the same backend platform, you do not miss out on any of the recording, text capture, and compliance requirements. And that is simply powerful if you think about it, especially in these times. So you don't lose any productivity.
Absolutely.
And you stay 100% compliant, and your business number remains the same. So your customer is not getting confused.
This one sounds like a future webinar topic.
Yeah.
So I understand now that we can record and we can do live recording in different ways across different geographies. So now I have this content, right, that I need to do something with. So talk to me a bit about storage. I assume lots of large firms, whether they have their own custom archival systems or they use one of the big ones mentioned here, journaling software, et cetera. We know companies have been doing this with emails and instant messaging forever. How does that work, and how does Movius support integrations into these systems so you can store content long term? But also, I want to talk about, IT departments are probably a little crazy right now trying to figure this all out, not just the mobile piece, but everything. How do they ensure that their employees have the right amount and access of technology that they need to get work done? What's Movius doing? I see the red text on the slide here around 90 days for free to try to eliminate that barrier in the short term.
That's right, Sean. Our goal is to help our customers, and especially in these times. So first thing that we are offering, and we have it built into the platform itself, is that we are able to store it on our platform for a finite period of time, because we know that everybody is in a frenzy and they need some time while they are finalizing their full deployment end state, right? So we are able to offer our customers storage on the Movius platform, which will stay compliant, which will stay regulated. You are able to access it. That way you can meet the regulatory requirements of being able to record and demonstrate that. So that stays on our platform for a finite period of time. And as you noted, we have some attractive offers there. So that's part one.
And that's voice and text?
That's for voice and text, Sean. Yeah, absolutely. That's for both. Then the second piece is, if the customer does have an existing archival platform which is ready to go, Movius has simplified the process a lot. So first, it's a simple 3-step thing. Number one, we'll quickly qualify with the customer what is their archival platform, and we have listed about 9 or 10 here on this slide. And most of the time it will fall in one of those, but if there is something else, we can quickly qualify that. Number two, because we have done these 8, 9, 10 integrations, we have a very good idea about what is the standard metadata format that most of these platforms need. So we have standardized that metadata, and our experience is 90+% of the time, our standard metadata file is going to meet our customers' requirements. So customer and us, we do a quick discussion, we show them our metadata file format, they say this is good to go, we like it, we can ingest it. So that's step number 2. And after that, Sean, it's really about setting up the 2 endpoints, which is the endpoint on the customer side where we need to push those files securely with that metadata information and actual content, and then customer is ready to go. So it's as simple as those 3 steps. Movius has a very qualified client servicing team which can walk them through these 3 steps and really get our customers up and about.
And how long does it take to implement one of these integrations?
So Sean, this is no exaggeration, but because of COVID, we had to mobilize over 5,000 plus users over a course of 2 days, just 2 weeks back. So
wow, that's great to hear. And was that into one of these standard archival solutions?
Yeah. It was in actually one or couple of these archival systems. Yeah.
Wonderful. Well, I did want to get to one more thing because we have, I know we have a lot of probably large companies here, and when they think of mobile from a security perspective, they think of EMM or MDM platforms. And I just wanted you, I know you touched on this a bit earlier, but if you could just give us a minute or two on how Movius works with the type of technologies that I'm showing on the screen here, the EMM and MDM platforms that I'm sure a lot of the larger companies out there have in place already.
Yeah, absolutely, Sean. So there are two key models that come into play. With each one of these EMM providers, our app can be deployed, right? So it's a managed app. You can pull it and you can use one of these EMM solutions to deploy the Movius application on the user's device. That's the first step. That's the simplest step. So now you have a managed app, which is the Movius app, Multiline app, and you are able to manage it. With two of these providers, specifically BlackBerry Dynamics or BlackBerry UEM as it is, and Microsoft Intune, we have gone a step further and we have done a deeper SDK level integration. So we've gone a step further there. And the reason is again about reducing the friction for that business user. So for example, with BlackBerry Dynamics SDK integration, we are able to give the user a click-to-call capability from their contact, from their BlackBerry email, right? So that makes the experience richer, or they can just do a single-click conference. We offer that ability, or click-to-message. So you don't have to do multiple hops, or you have to copy the number and put it on the Movius dialer. You can just click it there and then, and it makes the experience like your native experience. So for BlackBerry and Microsoft, we have done an SDK level integration, Sean. And with all of these, we can be a managed app that can be deployed and rolled on the user's device.
So just so I'm clear, so if I'm in BlackBerry or Intune and I see the phone icon, that's multi-line behind the scenes, right? So with BlackBerry, I have my calendar, my mail, my messenger, et cetera, and then the phone. And so the end user doesn't even necessarily know. They're just in BlackBerry doing their work, making calls.
That's right. And Sean, tying back to our core theme around security and compliance, this was one of the critical requirements of our biggest financial customers, right? So that they can enforce that communication happens through the secure Movius app, yet to the end user, it's business as usual. Yeah.
Wonderful. Well, that makes sense. Well, Amit, I want to thank you for your time. I have actually sort of infiltrated the conversation with many questions from the crowd as we went along, but I did want to pause here for a second just to see if there are any final questions while we have Amit on the line. And feel free again to use the chat or the Q&A. I think there are about 7 or 8 that you've already answered unbeknownst to you from the crowd. And if there are no more questions, certainly follow us on LinkedIn. Like I said, we're trying to do these webinars every Thursday, which is great and something that we're super excited about doing. If you have ideas on topics going forward, we'd love to hear from you on that. I think I heard a few today. We did have, let's see, we do have a question coming in right now. Amit, if I can keep you here for another minute.
Yeah.
Specific to privacy, this is a good one. One we get asked a lot, certainly. So I have my phone. I have obviously I have an iPhone, but I have my messages and my phone icon and whatnot. And how can I be sure if I'm embracing this model of having one phone for both work and personal, that the data is not commingled, that I don't get confused and use the wrong icon at the wrong time? But what's Movius's take on that?
Yeah, so first, as an end user, and I would want the same for me, you can be absolutely assured that anything on the Movius Multiline solution that is only work related, neither Movius nor the company will have any infiltration of data and be access to your personal data. So you can be absolutely confident about that. And then to simplify the experience, which is both in terms of when somebody is receiving the call, we clearly mark it that this is a call coming to your work number. It says Multiline work and you can see it. Similarly, when you are making an outbound call, obviously you're making it from the Movius application, which is really the corporate dialer, right? So to speak, for that business. So both from a visual standpoint, there's an absolute clarity on that this is work, and then everything else is your personal. And in terms of data access, we have no access to your personal data. We don't come on those call paths or messaging paths at all. We only focus on being compliant on this work business number. That's all.
Makes sense to me. Well, Amit, I want to thank you for your time. And for everyone on the call, again, follow us on LinkedIn, and we'll send out both the recording as well as a recording and archive checklist. So you'll learn a little more about the decisions you need to make and the options that are available to you. And the beauty is, again, what Amit mentioned earlier is we're offering 90 days right now of free storage. So you don't need to figure this out on day one. And like we said, we can turn this on the solution in a matter of hours and days, and have your people from home, your employees operating in a secure and compliant manner, while we figure out the longer term storage implications and solutions. And we want to get that right for you and get it to the right destination. So Amit, thank you for your time out in California. I know it's earlier out there. Please stay safe, and we'll chat. We'll probably see you guys in some way, shape, or form next Thursday. Thanks all.
Yeah, that's it. Bye, Sean. Bye, everyone. Thank you.
Bye, Amit.
Bye-bye. Bye-bye.